Welcome back, guys, and thanks for tuning in to the latest edition of Terrible Towel Tuesday. I am your host, Sim Football Critic, and we got some things to talk about, guys. And first, I want to give a shout out to all of you guys that showed great support during the draft. You know, I did my draft, live streams, and a lot of you guys came out and supported, or you saw it in the archive. So I definitely appreciate that, guys. A lot of you guys were new to the channel. I gained some new subscribers, so welcome. I appreciate you guys tuning in. All right, now what we're going to talk about, man, is quite a few things, in a little bit of time, because you guys know I don't try to extend it too long. But let's talk about the draft first and foremost. So I want to give my total opinion on the draft as a whole, and give my grade on it and things of that nature. And I'm sure it will branch off some different conversations. All right, so we know, guys, I'm going to try to do this off of memory. So if I forget somebody, you guys let me know, but I'm trying to see where my memory's at. So in the first round, guys, we saw a lot of things go on. We definitely saw guys come off the board. We saw a couple trades, and, but it pretty much went the way we thought it would go. Now, one thing I do want to point out, there was mention that the Steelers, there's, a story that came out from Jerry Dulac. They're saying that it's reported that the Steelers wanted to get Rationale and he was the only guy, one of the main guys that they had on their board to take in the first round. If we're talking about inside linebackers, and that's interesting. We're going to get back to that point, but keep that in mind. We saw Tennessee move up to get him. They moved up a few spots. They took Rashaan Evans, as well as Leighton Vander Esch. Dallas took him. Of course, we knew Roquan Smith was going to go. Of course, we knew Tremaine Edmonds was going to go. And it seems like that these guys were the premier inside linebackers, all right? So, again, hold that point. We'll come back to it. So, in the first round of the 2018 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers elect safety out of Virginia Tech, Terrell Edmonds. Okay, now that was a surprise by a lot of us. A lot of us did think that the Steelers would go safety. We thought for sure that they would either do that or they would go inside linebacker. A lot of us, including myself, we mocked Rashaan Evans and Leighton Vander Esch and these type of guys that we assumed would be the first round pick if they were there. And then we assumed if they wasn't there, the Steelers would go safety. Now, we were correct at safety. What we weren't correct about, at least I wasn't, and I'm assuming a lot of you guys, we didn't know it was going to be Terrell Edmonds. It's interesting, man, because I did hear that the Steelers had an eye on him. He, of course, being at the Virginia Tech Pro Day, there to see him as well as his brother who went to the Bills. And, hey, the Steelers are following their tradition, man. They're going with guys in the, top 5 power conferences. And, when Tomlin and Colbert are both at a pro day, that's a very good sign of who they may take in the first round. So, it basically checked a lot of those boxes. A lot of us thought it would have been Justin Reed. A lot of us thought it would have been a guy like Jesse Bates, perhaps. But, hey, the Steelers decided to go with Terrell Edmonds. And the reason why, they're talking about versatility more than anything else. And we're going to keep that in mind as well, because we're going to come back and talk about that. So, again, that was the first round. Second round comes around, and, I give myself a little bit of credit, a little pat on the back, because I did say in one of the prior shows, I said, hey, I could see the Steelers going James Washington. Could definitely see them going with James Washington at some point in the draft. I did mock Christian Kirk, just trying to reach a little bit, but I said, hey, keep an eye out on James Washington, especially since Martavis Bryant got traded it in the first round, for a third round pick. And lo and behold, look what happened. Second round, James Washington falls to Pittsburgh, and I think that was a great pick. Now, third round comes around, okay? And the Steelers grab Mason Rudolph, which is interesting. Mason Rudolph was one of the guys I said that I thought the Steelers were in love with. And, I said, hey, if they throw a curveball in the first round, it may be Mason Rudolph if that is their guy. Lo and behold, they get him in the third round. So if that is their guy, great value right there getting him in the third round. Now, also in the third round with the additional pick that was acquired, they pick a tackle. I can't remember his name right now, guys. Okorafor, I believe it is his last name. I'm not even going to attempt to, pronounce his first name. But they pick a tackle, which was a little bit of a curveball. I wasn't expecting that. Their scouting report on this guy is he is basically going to be a developmental project. They're saying that he'll probably be able to play, left and right tackle. And, at first I didn't really want a tackle at that moment. I'm still thinking inside linebacker. It didn't happen. And, my thoughts started to wane a little bit after we didn't get an inside linebacker in the first 3 rounds with the first 4 picks. Because, again, 2 third-round picks. Felt a little concerned there, guys, especially knowing that we didn't have a 4th. I'm thinking, man, who are we going to grab at this point? But I understand it, as, talking to some of you guys, kind of leveling me out a little bit, saying, hey, man, you got to think, our guys are getting a little bit older. A guy like Marcus Gilbert. And Marcus Gilbert has had some injury issues. Marcus Gilbert, had the suspension last year for, the PED or whatever it was. And, okay, so maybe it is a good time if you see a good project, a good prospect, go ahead and grab him. Okay, I get it. I just didn't necessarily want that to be in the 3rd round, but I'm not going to, beat them up about it. Again, these guys are professionals. They do this for a living. I got to trust in them and trust that they know what they're doing. So that wraps up, rounds 1 through 3. So coming into, the next rounds, not having a 4th, so we got to wait until the 5th. I'm thinking, okay, there's some guys that's probably still out there. The list is getting very, very short. But I'm thinking the Steelers are probably going to spend these last 3 picks on an inside backer or 2, or an edge rusher or 2, or a running back. I did think a running back would be in play, or perhaps a tight end. So what do? I'm trying to remember again, guys. So the 5th round, the first guy they picked, I believe, was Marcus Allen. I think he was the first pick of the 5th round. Another big safety out of Penn State, very familiar with him. Some of you guys talked about him when we were leading up to the draft. I've talked about him a little bit. I did keep an eye on him, as well as a guy like Deshaun Elliott. Some of the under-the-radar type of safeties, but guys that I thought might be able to fit in the fold. Deshaun Elliott may have been a better pick in terms of like ball hawk and things like that, coverage ability. But Marcus Allen, being a big kid, huge safety, 6'2", I believe he's about 215, something like that, big hitter. I said, okay, he fits the mold of being in the box, another box type of safety. I can understand why they would, may have went there, physicality and things, and familiar with him being right there in Penn State, not too far away. So I wasn't mad at that pick. I think it was good value in the 5th round. But then they picked up the guy Jalen Samuels, which, pretty big school, NC State. I didn't really know much about him. And I know there was a lot of confusion, a lot of, upset fans when they saw what was, what they were touting his position to be, had him listed at fullback, tight end or whatever. But that's far from the truth, guys. He's not a traditional fullback. He's not a traditional tight end. He is a running back, but he's a Swiss Army knife. Go take a look at his film. This guy is lined up everywhere, all over the field. They used him in shuffle pass situations a lot. They used him in jet sweeps. They've handed him the football. Another big guy. I believe he's 5'11", about 220, 225, something like that. How the Steelers like girth, those big boys in the backfield. But I looked at him and I said, okay, I could see some things that they may want to do with him. He had a lot of receptions, a ton of receptions, was involved with a lot of touchdowns. So I understand maybe why they went that direction. And then in the 7th round, I'm trying to remember who was the last guy we picked. Slipping my mind right now. 7th round, we went with, Frazier. We went with Joshua Frazier from Alabama, nose tackle. No real surprise there, seeing that, again, Tomlin and Colbert met with him in his pro day when they were down there at Alabama, had dinner with them. Excuse me. And also, the connection with Dunbar makes a lot of sense. Maybe, a guy you can snag in the 7th round that I believe is definitely going to push Daniel McCullers. That's going to be, my hope. And I'm sure that's what the Steelers are thinking, get some depth at nose tackle to challenge Daniel McCullers, who really hasn't been what we expected him to be. So he'll probably be the lone man out in that situation. So let me give my grade real quick, and then we'll go in and dissect a few more things. Now, just to give you guys a heads up, I'm grading this from my personal opinion as far as expectation, not necessarily grading each player. I'm just grading it off of what my expectation was and then versus what they actually did. I'm going to say C+. Okay? And to me, my grade of C+ is a positive draft. Positive draft. But the reason why I'm not going to go with any B or any A is because, you know, to me, I still felt like there were other positions that we needed more, you know, more of a need, you know, and we didn't draft that. But the players we drafted, you have to agree, some of these players are going to be special. Now, here's another reason why I can't give it higher than a C+ is because I don't think a lot of these players are going to play this year. Not a lot of these guys are going to impact what we do this year. So as a fan, that's kind of tough to stomach, but also as a fan and a lifelong fan, not just a fan for the moment, I understand we got to plan for the future. I mean, you look at a Mason Rudolph. Guys, again, I like Mason Rudolph as a quarterback, and I've been saying that I thought the Steelers were very interested in him, his measurables, how he plays. I'm ecstatic that they were able to get a guy like Mason Rudolph for the future. You know, I can look past, you know, if we'll be able to get the 7th trophy while Ben is there. You know, we hope we all can, but, you know, if we don't, we don't. You got to think about the future. Roethlisberger's not going to play forever. You know, we don't even know if he's going to play the 2 to 3 years. He says that, but we don't know that, right? So I love Mason Rudolph. Hopefully this guy develops. Hopefully it's a smooth transition. You know, he's not going to be Big Ben, but hopefully, you know, it's a smooth transition, like a Dak Prescott to a Tony Romo, if you will. Totally different players, but Dak came in his rookie year and they balled. So that's what I'm hoping we're going to get in Pittsburgh. I don't want to have that lull period where, oh, Roethlisberger is gone. So now, you know what breaks loose. You know what I mean? No. I would love to keep that consistency going and still have a nice, you know, winning organization even as we transition into a new regime at quarterback. So again, I think looking at Mason Rudolph, you know, his measurables, his size, you know, the way he throws a deep ball and things of that nature, his quarterback play, he seems like a guy that, you know, after a couple years could be able to have the system under his belt and come in there and be productive. So I'm cool with that pick. James Washington actually is a guy I think will play, you know, this year. And I'm actually going to do a separate video on that. So I won't go too much into detail. Got to keep you guys coming back. But yeah, I think James Washington, man, you know, has the potential to be something special for us as well. He's going to play this year, I believe. You know, he might even be opposite Antonio Brown because, you know, I think Juju, they're going to keep Juju inside. I see him working inside more so than James Washington, so we'll see how that pans out, but I like that pick. But, you know, as far as everybody else, I don't necessarily know. I don't know, you know, a guy like Jalen Samuels, I don't know if he's going to make the team, let's be honest. You know what I mean? I think a guy like Frazier will make the team, but again, still in a backup role. Maybe, you know, when we go big, like maybe a 4-4 package or something like that where you want to stuff the run, you know, maybe you can get him and Hargrave inside as well as, you know, Tuitt and Cam on the outside. But again, not going to play that much. And a guy like, and excuse that noise, guys, a guy like Edmonds, obviously, I believe he will get some playing time. Absolutely, I think he'll get playing time. You know, you don't draft a guy number 1 to not allow him to play. That's the same thing I feel about your 2nd round guy. You know, so I think Washington and Edmonds have the best chances to produce for us this year. The other guys, maybe, but not so much. Excuse me. And that's the reason why I can't give it more than a C+, because, you know, I'm looking at what guys are able to do this year. Now, let's get more into what I'm talking about there in the title. Here's the reason why I think the Steelers did not draft an inside linebacker. I mean, we've seen articles on this already, and I just wanted to share my opinion. I think maybe what Dulac is saying is the facts. You know, maybe Rashaan Evans was the guy that they identified, and since he wasn't there, they didn't grade anybody else high enough to draft them at certain positions. It would let me to believe, you know, would lead me to believe they didn't, you know, grade anybody high enough to go in the 1st or 2nd or 3rd. And then by the time you get into the 5th and 7th, maybe there were other guys high on their board. Like, look at a Marcus Allen. Marcus Allen is probably a player in the 5th round that was the highest on their board. Let's not forget that. The Steelers never have a problem telling us in the fan base, listen, we're going to draft the highest player on our board. We don't always draft for need. All right, so I think they didn't go inside linebacker because, simply put, what Kevin Colbert said early on, maybe he was telling the truth. You know, early on around the combine times, he said, listen, there's only a few guys who are impactful at that position. There's some good talent there, but there's only a few guys that we feel like would come in and make a difference. Now, if we really think about it, there's a lot of inside linebackers. A lot of us threw names out there. Like, I really like the kid, Dorian O'Daniel. Really liked him. But let's think about it. If you throw out a lot of these names, maybe, you know, the pro scouts didn't, you know, evaluate them the same way. Just talking about Pittsburgh, because obviously some of these guys did get drafted, but maybe Pittsburgh didn't value them as high over another guy. You know, and, you know, the one that we could always question is taking that tackle, because I think at that time we still had the opportunity to get a guy, I think. I don't remember, but I think we might have had opportunities to still get guys like Jefferson or O'Daniel, because I know Cincinnati snatched Jefferson. But I'm just saying, you know, maybe the Steelers just didn't grade these guys high enough after the first 3 rounds. Doesn't mean I have to agree, but obviously that's what happened. And I think they didn't go with an inside backer because I think they feel like they could get their production still using these guys. Look at the type of safeties they drafted. You know, Edmonds has played all over the field. You know, even his coach at Virginia Tech said he's played everywhere in their defense, even at corner. You know, you look at his size and his height and things like that, very similar to Ryan Shazier. Some people are saying put 10 more pounds on him and he's an inside backer. I don't know if you necessarily do that. Maybe. We'll see what happens. But then again, look at a guy like Marcus Allen. That's another big safety, you know, that you can bring in the box. You know, Sean Davis has played some in the box. Maybe we're going to see a lot more, you know, 3 safety type of formations, you know, and I know we've been running somewhat of a hybrid defense for the last year or 2, but I'm talking about, like, we might start seeing guys with dime and big nickel and things like that is really more of our base. You know what I mean? I'm thinking even like a 4-1-6 or something like that, you know, and you have Edmonds or, you know, Allen, one of those guys being that middle backer. And then on the back end, you know, you still got obviously Hayden, Artie Burns, Morgan Burnett. I was about to say Morgan Freeman. Morgan Burnett, you know, Sean Davis, or then you might even throw Cam Sutton in the fold. You see what I'm saying? I think the Steelers have a lot of opportunity with rotating players in the nickels, in the big nickel and dime packages. I think we're going to see some different schemes or schematics this season as far as being something that we play more often. You know what I mean? Excuse me again. I think we're going to start seeing some changing of the schemes, man, where we're playing these different schemes a lot more often, and there's more rotational pieces. Like I said, Cam Sutton, Mike Hilton, you know, just those names alone. And then if you throw a guy like Edmonds in the fold, now we got Burnett, Sean Davis still there. You see what I'm saying? I don't even know, you know, who's going to be the starter in the base 3-4. I'm thinking probably still Burnett and Davis, but we'll see. We'll see. I mean, hey, it might even be a situation where if he does put on a little bit of bulk, we might see a situation where we come out in 3-4, but still have personnel on the field that can cover in case of a pass. You might see a situation where it's Bostic standing beside Edmonds. You know, and Edmonds is lined up as a 3-4 inside backer in this particular formation. I'm just saying, the opportunities are endless. So I'm excited to wait and see what they're going to do. I trust in the team. Again, I'm a little disappointed that we didn't seem to show as much attention to the inside linebacker position. We didn't even draft an inside backer nor an outside linebacker. However, let me go through this list really quick, guys, and then we'll pretty much be up out of here. You know, we did get some, you know, undrafted free agents. We messed around and got Matthew Thomas, guys. He's probably the biggest name on the list. I know him well, you know, being from, you know, not from, but I'm an FSU, you know, Florida State fan. I definitely know Matthew Thomas. There's some red, you know, a little bit of red flags there, guys. You know, he had some medical injuries. some surgeries. You know, he got himself in trouble and, you know, with academic suspension and things like that. So there's some red flags there. But I think, you know, he has a lot of upside. You know, you looking at his measurables, big kid, man. You know, he's, if I'm not mistaken, about 6'3", or 6'2", 6'3", 240 pounds, something like that. You know, I could be a little bit off. Ran a 4.5 40. Supposedly at his pro day, he ran a sub 4.4. So there's some upside there. But honestly, I think, you know, he's going to be challenging a guy like LJ Fort. I heard Dave and Dave say that as well on the Terrible podcast. And I can kind of agree with that, because it sounds like Kevin Colbert, they're still high on Tyler Matakevich. So I don't think Matakevich gets booted off the roster. So I'm thinking you're looking at a guy like, you know, LJ Fort. If you can beat out LJ Fort, special teams, you're going to have to be a special teams demon to make the roster. And, you know, maybe he's a practice squad guy, but we'll see. Once the pads come on, we'll see what these guys can do. And the other guy, what's his name? Adonijay from Toledo. He's a linebacker as well. He's touted to be more of an edge rusher. He looks sneaky good. You know what I mean? Like lower competition, but he has something with him. So let's keep an eye on him. Go check out his film, guys. And then, of course, Keon Adams. We got to see what he's going to bring to us this year. Because, again, we're weak. Very weak at the outside linebacker spots, man. You know, with Bud Dupree and TJ Watt, Keon Adams, and Anthony Chickalo. That's about all I could think of. Huguenin. But these are unproven guys. So it's going to be interesting, man. Here's another guy, you know, everyone's talking about Quadri Henderson, you know, from Penn State. Shows some very good return capability watching his film. But again, you know, I don't know who and who's not going to make the teams. Even when you look at receiver, I mean, a little thin there. You know, right now you're looking at AB and Juju, and James Washington will have to play a lot this year. But then after that, you're talking Justin Hunter and Hay-Bay. And we don't know what's going on with Eli Rogers yet. So I don't know. We're going to have to let training camp and preseason sort itself out. Maybe the Steelers are still going to venture out guys and get some more free agents in the linebacker position or free agent in the wide receiver position. But it's very interesting, man. A lot of these other guys I'm not even familiar with, man, that they have here on the you know, the list here as far as free agents. I'll post a link in the description. You know, maybe one of these guys can be a James Harrison, you know, come out of thin air and be something for us. But I don't know. We'll see. But like I said, overall, guys, I'm going to give it a grade of a C+ in terms of the draft. And again, I'm not knocking these players. It's just that I would have liked to have seen more focus on defense. But I understand the business side of things. I think they're good people that they picked, particularly in the first 3 picks. And then definitely Marcus Allen. And we'll see if the tackle pans out. And, you know, we'll see from there. You know, I don't feel like a lot of those guys on the back end are going to be able to contribute now. And that's why I'm kind of scoring it the way I am. But again, if Kevin Colbert was really, you know, being open and honest about how he felt about the linebacker position, then what transpired was absolutely correct. The Steelers, there's even rumors said that they tried to trade up to get Rashaan Evans. So we'll see. I guess they just didn't value anybody else as far as being an actual draft pick. All right, but that's all I got for you guys, man. You know, definitely be on the lookout for more content. I'm going to do a separate video at some point about James Washington, you know, how I think he's definitely going to help the Steelers. But outside of that, man, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Cut on your notifications so you're fully aware of the next video. And I promise it will never hurt you to hit that like button. And before we go, let's get a here we go Steelers. And I'll definitely catch you guys in the next one. All right, until then, y'all be good. Peace.